What's going on, Creator Fam? I am your host that loves you the most, Ozeal. Welcome to The Creator Factor. This is a podcast for content creators building businesses and brands through thought leadership and community and connection. And here we promise you, my fellow creator, to give you different perspectives and vibes to help elevate your creator journey. And today I'm excited for this reconnection I'm having with an old friend of mine who I interviewed many years back in the day. And he is an amazing individual. He's an author of two awesome books, Freelance to Freedom, which is a classic, The Wealth of Connection. And he's also the founder of Total Life Freedom, totallifefreedom.com, and founder of Membership Freedom Community. He's a podcaster. He's a family man. And again, he's just one cool, inspiring individual. Ladies and gents, let's welcome to the podcast none other than my boy, Vincent Pugliese in the house. Vincent, how you doing, my friend? It's been a while.
Well, after that intro, I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much. It's what's it about 5 years ago?
I was thinking about that. I think it was like 5 years ago, dude. Yeah.
We were traveling cross country when the first book came out.
That's right. I remember
I was in, I don't know where we were, maybe Oceanside, California. I remember being in the guest room, sitting down, talking to you when we did our first interview together. Yep. So, wow, it's 5 years.
Yep. Yeah, man, it's been a minute, and just watching your journey to building what you're building now, and of course, seeing your journey as a podcaster. Whenever you told me, you were like, yeah, man, I'm starting this podcast, I was like, oh, yes. And you were great at it, man. You are a great podcaster, great storyteller, and that's something that really stood out. So I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about the podcast and all the other things you got going on, brother. But first and foremost, man, let's start with this, man, because one of the things, again, Wealth of Connection, I saw your love for community, and I want you to share with us that moment, Vincent, when you realized in your solopreneur journey that you needed that vitamin C, that community, and how that influenced the way you approached your solopreneur journey and everything that you're currently doing now.
Yeah, I was a lone wolf. I think a lot of creatives are like, I'll do it on my own. Like, I'm way too picky to want to hear what other people have to say. Let me just do my own. Like, I came from the photography world. It's like, you're kind of standalone, right? Like, you gotta push through. You gotta make it almost all on your own. And everybody else was competition. And that was the world that I was in. I grew up in New York. I was a freelancer in New York City, and it's not a very collaborative environment. It basically is, if you step in front of me, I can't get the picture, and then you beat me and I lose. So it's very much dog eat dog. Like, I can't lose to you. So very, very little sharing of information, very little collaborating, like to help each other out. It's, each person for themselves. So once I got into this space, in terms of thinking about writing a book, in terms of the online space, I joined communities because I'm like, wow, there's people that are helping each other. There's people that don't look at one another as competition, as like, hey, we're gonna collaborate together. And what happened, the first mastermind I ever joined, I went to a live event, and I wrote about this in the book. And so I was at that point a sports photographer. I'd been a photographer, a wedding photographer for many years, but wanting to get into the online space, more thought leadership, more of everything what I'm doing now. And there was a guy named Kyle Schultz, and he had created a membership, which I didn't know anything about. And it was for parents to take better pictures of their kids. Like, that's a member. So he's charging $10 a month. He's got 1,000 members. I'm like, you're making 10 grand a month to show up on a weekly call? Not too bad, right? And he's selling courses and all this other stuff. Freedom. He's always been up. So I'm like, so he gave his presentation, and I gave my presentation, and he comes and sits down, and I looked at him and I said, hey, I got an idea. And he said, yes. Now, he didn't know who I was, and I didn't know who he was. He said, yes. So I said, you don't even know what I'm going to say. And he said, well, go ahead and tell me. Go ahead and ask. And I said, you and I should team up. You've got this huge community, and I've been a professional sports photographer for 20 years, shooting everything, Super Bowl, World Series, everything you can imagine. I shot it. And he knew that from my presentation. I said, we should collaborate and do a course together for your group. And it would be how to teach parents how to take better sports pictures of their kids. Because Kyle wasn't a sports photographer, but he had this big audience. And he goes, that's exactly what I was thinking. Yes. So we immediately agreed to it. And we met up a couple times. We laid out a course. We recorded the course. We sold it to his community. And as I was a newspaper photographer shooting all the sports, I was making At the low point, 32 grand a year, but winning major awards. It wasn't very lucrative, but it was an amazing job. But I couldn't do it very long like that. Well, the first day the course launched, we made $32,000. So we made as much in a day as I would make in a year with the same information, the same knowledge. Everything was the same except shooting or teaching. And it really taught me the difference from going from doing something to teaching it. And when you can go from doing to teaching, there's a lot of people, right, that have a skill, but they're not teaching it to other people. My income explodes and my time freedom opens wide up. And that was the moment where I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I'm not that I've been doing things wrong, but I just learned something that I didn't know before. So that's the world that I got into. I eventually said, I want to create my own community. And as we talked about before we even started, there are the most micro niche communities you can imagine now that anybody can do that you couldn't have done 15 years ago. And that was 7 years ago. That's the world they jumped into. So I've been running online communities and memberships for the last 7 years. And now I have a membership for people that are building memberships. So it's been an amazing journey.
Share with us some of those micro niches, because I think one of the things that I hear for creators is this, do I need to niche? And talk to us a little bit about that, about the power of niching and focusing on a target audience, and then some of the niches that you've encountered, because some people don't really believe it. They think, oh, we need to go broad or need to go, it's too niche. Share with us a little bit about that, Vince.
Well, 10 years ago, you could say you're a business coach and it would be fine. Now there's a billion business coaches. Now you got to go down the checklist of what makes you more specific, why I'm going to hire you. So for instance, somebody could say, I'm doing a membership on hobbies. Okay, that's great. And then you encounter this woman that I met that I'll be interviewing for our community. She's going to be a guest, and she has a membership, and it is a murder mystery quilting membership. Murder mystery quilting membership. And I was like, what? She has 9,000 paying members. They pay annually in February. And together for the entire year, they quilt a murder mystery story from all over the world. And by the end of it, whenever they figure out, I'm going to get all the details when I talk to her. I cannot wait to talk to her. I've interviewed like the biggest professional athletes in the world. I'm excited about this one as I am for
anybody. I need to check that one out.
It's so creative. And how do you come up with that? How do you, so the power of niching down, you take an interest, you take a hobby, you take a skill, you do as Seth Godin would say, you become a tribe leader. Basically the way he says, like, there's all these millions of tribes, they're just not being led.
Yeah.
They're just not being led. You have to so the ones that do this show up and lead. And you don't have to be the be-all, end-all expert in the area. You just have to be willing to lead, because even as you lead, you bring in guest experts. You don't have to be the person that knows everything. You have to be the one willing to lead. And that's what she did. And there's all these crazy niches. The more we dive down, like solo, we have a guy in our group, Ken Carfagno, solo cleaning. So there's all these cleaners that are solo cleaners. They don't work for a company, that he leads a membership for them. Everything. I mean, we can go on and on and on. It's phenomenal. And the more niche you become, the more you become that person. And as I say to the group all the time, 134 people paying you $75 a month is $10,000 a month recurring revenue.
Yeah.
Now there's 8 billion people in the world, right? So who cares about having a big audience? Who cares about being broad? If you niche to a specific thing and 134 people are willing to pay you, or 200 people are willing to pay you $50 a month, or 1,000 people are willing to pay you $10 a month, and let's just say you do one call a month, one call a week, plus run a community, you have now built what I call time freedom, which is the most valuable freedom. And now you're paying your bills and beyond for mostly everybody. And now you have the time, if you want, to expand in every way you want. You can build courses, you can do masterminds, you have the freedom, because you don't have to worry about the money, because the money is recurring revenue, which is predictable, as opposed to one-off sales where you can real estate, you make 30 grand one month and you make nothing, right? If I have recurring revenue and I know that 3% of the people are going to drop off on average, all I need to do at the beginning of the month is replace that 3% for the rest of my life. And I have that income and beyond going forward.
Yeah.
Once you build it to that level. And it's a model for this day and age where you could be with your family more. You can be with your spouse more. You can rest more. You can try things that don't work. It has been the number one thing that has eliminated stress in our life. So it's not about wealth as much as it's about freedom. So there's so much more, but that's the basic overview.
Total life freedom. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go back a little bit, man. So what did the early stages for creators that are like, okay, I want to build community, I want to build a membership program. You know, what did the early stages of your membership program look like in the beginning, like to get people in? Like how much marketing were you doing? Did you have people already interested? Like how can you gauge to see if anybody is interested in possibly paying you to be a part of a membership?
Great. So I love that because I think we always need to say, what was the beginning like? Because we hear all these stories about, I'm making X million dollars. Well, how was the start? And the starting is always different than, oh, we spend, 20 grand a month on Facebook ads. Well, most people can't do that. Most people can't lose a couple $100,000 before they hit for millions. They just can't. They'll go under, and their spouse won't like it very much. So for me, it literally started after being in a couple of masterminds. I wasn't even thinking about the word membership. I was thinking mastermind at first. And this was probably 2017. I used to go on, so credit to the podcast world. Before my book came out, I just did a podcast tour. And literally in one of those podcast interviews, somebody said to me, he goes, so what's next for you? And I said, I've been a part of these masterminds. I think I want to create my own around the topics of this book, Freelance to Freedom. It's specific to like the solopreneur lifestyle of building this out, not just about money, but about time freedom, just the concept of the book. I think I want to build a mastermind around that. And he said, what's the price? And I was like, I don't know. And I threw out something. I think it was like $159 a month. It was very low for a mastermind. And he goes, well, if you started, I'll join. And I was like, I wasn't planning on, I didn't think anybody would be interested yet. I thought it was going to be, I said, all right. And so I called a couple of friends that I had been in a mastermind with already. And I said, I did some market research. And this is the core of what we teach out now. Started asking. I didn't sell them on anything. I said, hey, this is the idea that I'm thinking. Tell me what you think. Tell me the problems you see. Tell me, do you think this is viable? Do you think people would be interested? And the first two friends that I asked, who I had been in community with before in different places, both said, I think it's a great idea and I would join. So literally my first three offers joined. That is uncommon. I wouldn't say that's going to happen. But I had built a network, and that's the very first part of our roadmap is building a powerful network, building a wealth of connection. I had built so much goodwill without asking for things that when I finally brought that offer, people read. So I asked 7 people, and 6 of them joined. And that's how the first one started. Uncommon numbers, and then it built out from there. So what happened was we built out 1 mastermind, then 2, and then a third. We sold out 3 masterminds, raised the price. But then I started to realize we have a lot of people that are coming in that can't afford the mastermind and they can't afford the time. Like it was 2 hours a week. Can't do that. Do you have a lower option? So the audience started telling me, if you created something that was a lower price at less of a commitment, I would join tomorrow, a $50 a month type of thing. So that's what we started with, a lower price thing. And then that started building out, raised the price, and then built out from there, and then built out, from a $9 a month low price thing to a much more expensive mastermind, memberships in between, then live events, courses. And now we have what I call a stadium. You go into a stadium and they have free options, right? Your podcast, your newsletter, your interviews, just like a team. You have cheap seats all the way down to the luxury boxes. And you have a concourse, everything in between that's products. But they all still play just one game. You go to the Houston Astros game and they're not confused. They're not going to Dallas trying to play hockey or going to Corpus Christi and trying to play cricket or do a knitting community. They play baseball, and they are some of the best in the world at playing baseball. They play on this one field in this one stadium for a couple hours a day, and they own that market. And that's what solopreneurs and entrepreneurs can do as well. But usually they're too scattered. They go, well, I want to do a little bit of this. I want to do a little bit of that. And they wind up stretching themselves among 6 things and doing it at 15%, as opposed to doing one thing at 100%.
Talk to us about some of the biggest challenges you face in building this first community, this mastermind, this community, and how did you overcome that?
Well, I didn't know how to do it, right? So that's I think emotionally it was hard because it's a whole different ballgame. Now you are leading a group of people, but it's a hybrid. You're doing some coaching, I can't help but get involved. I love helping people. So my biggest problem is I got too involved. I cared too much. right? As opposed to some people that want to set it and forget it. I was like, this is the work that I love doing. I love being in conversation. So it was really hard when people wouldn't do the work. That's what I've learned a lot of times. You can lead people, but not everybody's going to have the same drive that I do, right? If I'm going to do something, I go and I make it happen. There's a lot of people that there's imposter syndrome. They're not sure. They will pause. They will do something else. And I've had to learn to step back and be like, everybody's going at their own pace. I have to lead in a way that they can do it at their own pace. Whereas before I would bulldoze and be like, come on. And I'll do that with some people. But then what happens is somebody eventually leaves, and I took that to heart probably more than I should have as a business person, right? Yeah. But when you think about community, like we live here in Lakewood Ranch, Florida, it's an amazing community. But guess what? As great as it is, there's people that still move out, right? There's people that still, they can't afford it. They don't appreciate it. You got to understand, some people are going to leave, but your job is to retain the right people, over deliver, and then at the same time be recruiting new people. So Lakewood Ranch has advertised. They do whatever they do. There's a lot of word of mouth that brings people in here. You can build an online community the same way that great in-person communities do it. So I study that stuff. So the challenges were emotional for me. And also, like, you know, how do you get people into it? When you build trust in your world, and I don't like to sell, but I love to make offers, meaning I'm not just pushing for anybody to get in there, but if I meet somebody that's a good fit, I'll make them an offer to join, but I'll also be like, hey, I need to know, because I don't like being led along. So it's like a lot of times I'll do like a one-time offer. That's a better deal. And I'll say, hey, if you join now, we'll do this. I'm always looking, how is the best offer that I can make so we can get this thing moving? You're constantly learning. You're constantly evolving. I absolutely love the challenge. It is not emotional anymore because I know people are going to come, people are going to go. But every day and every week, the community gets better. It gets stronger. And that what I want to do is build the greatest community in this space and help other people build theirs. That's the goal of it.
So you were very mindful early on about, the art of the wealth of connection and building relationships even prior to your first mastermind, right? So you had a network that you were tapping into. You were asking, hey, what do you think about this? Then you had your first few members. But let's say for a creator who really hasn't tapped into building an email list, or a creator that is early on in the stages of like, just maybe they're in a Facebook group, but they haven't really started their community, and any advice for that creator early on to say, hey, build a Facebook community, build a membership, like where do you begin? And I guess where I'm trying to figure out is like, how do you identify like how to communicate that? Like when you're ready to actually start the membership, if you want to start going that route, like what can they start doing now,
So I teach this in our group. It's 7 phases of the wealth of connection, which what I do on a daily basis. And it is connect with current. Now it only can take an hour a day. And if you can't do it, I don't want to rely on an email. I have an email list, but I don't want to rely on it. We all know if and people don't talk about this, if you have an email list and you pitch them something for sale, the common numbers is that about 1% are going to buy.
Right.
I don't like those odds in terms of business. I don't, if you're going to build a huge email list, I know somebody has an email list of over 50,000 people and they got less than 20 to join one of the programs that they did. And they have a great offer. To me, those aren't good odds to build my business around. Yet, look at what happened when we started our first mastermind. 7 offers, 6 people joined, right? That's relationship based. And so you can build a wealth of connection first. Here's the way I describe it. And it's a very simple way of looking at it. I say this phrase of 3 months to launch, 3 years to freedom. And if you can accept that, I can help you. Meaning, and even if you, like, I said this to my group the other day. I said, would you sign a contract if I told you that you're going to start the foundational work of building a community today, but a year from today, you will have made very little money, if no money at all, a year from today, but you have built out a wealth of connection within your group, within influencers in your community. You have built a lot of trust. You will have chosen your niche. You have created content around your niche, and you will have started doing market research for the launch of your group. And then let's just say you created a membership that's $50 a month, right? And you can get 2 people a week to join, which if you think about it and you do the work, it shouldn't be that difficult to do when you go through what we teach. Well, after a year, without cancellations, you'll have 104 people, and that'll be about $5,000 a month. If you do that again in the second year, you are now at $10,000 a month. And that's at a basic $50 level without a mastermind, without those 3 years. And you could do it so much faster than that. But in that basic timeline, if you give me a year to build anything, I'm going to succeed if I do the work. Now, there's a difference between 1 year in the calendar or 1 year of actual work. I know people say, I've been at this for a year. It hasn't worked. I'm like, how much have you really worked? Have you really worked a year's worth of work, or was it within 1 year? Because a lot of people don't do it consistently. They will stop for 3 months. That doesn't count as part of the year. But if you can do the work for 1 year, and then you can then build out, you can have a multiple 5-figure membership built on your content, your connection, the community that you made, referrals from within your community, and then eventually, if you have an affiliate where they can share it with their people, now your people start promoting your community. And by the end of it, they're bringing in more people than you might be bringing in because of that. So, but you need the foundational work, just like any building. So many people build a business without a foundation, meaning I'm going to start doing this tomorrow. Well, go out and build a building in your local downtown without a foundation. Go just start building from the ground up. Guess what's going to happen? It's going to fall apart. It's going to fall down. You need to spend months digging out all the rubble, putting in foundational pieces so you can build it as high as you want. The biggest issue, people will not build the foundation. They want it quickly. Now, if you want money quickly, go get a job or go start a service-based business. Like my son, go do power washing. You can make money tomorrow. If you want to build something sustainable like this that brings in recurring revenue forever, you need foundational work to it. People aren't just lining up to do this. They join once they see the success that you've had with other people. And they want to be a part of a community of people lifting people up. You know this in Houston with the podcast. People want, eventually when they see it, they're coming to you. But in the first year, they won't. Just like a sports team. Just the first year of any sports team, they're giving away free tickets. Just come watch us play. You win a couple of championships and you can't get a ticket. So we use that analogy all the time. So being a sports fan for 20 years, sports is the greatest business model in the world that nobody talks about.
That's right. I love your analogies, by the way, man. I'm like, man, you made me think about certain things, man. You're talking about like the box seats and just the luxury tickets and everything. Oh, man. Anyways, I love your analogies, man.
You could spend $10 in an Astro game, or you could probably spend $15,000 going to fantasy camp and playing with, all the old guys from the old days, right?
Right.
But it's the same exact product, but different clients. The person that's going to spend $15,000 for a luxury, fantasy camp will not sit in the nosebleed seats, but it's the same game.
Same game. Yep. I'm curious to ask you this, brother. You've been hosting, you've been organizing these masterminds and these memberships for a minute now. I actually about 4 years ago, I did one as well called Pod Influence. It was for podcasters, and one of the challenges was keeping community members engaged. And I felt, man, I know you felt this early on, the emotion of like, am I giving them value? Am I making it worth it? And then just scrambling. And I remember I was in a frenzy trying to like really I was in my head trying to figure out, am I giving them value? And I felt like I was shortchanging them, even though they appreciate the community and some would show up, but I did see a drop off, and I was just like, man, how do you keep them engaged? So my question to you, brother, is like, when you go through those emotions, how do you keep your community members engaged, activated, obviously with understanding that some are going to drop off, but that was a challenge for anybody, for myself, who started a membership, but of course, anybody who's trying to launch one. That's something to kind of keep in mind. Curious to know your thoughts on that and how we can combat that.
Here's my answer that's either good or bad, depending on where you take it. It always is a problem, and it always will be a problem. And you got to come to a point where you just accept there's no perfect anything, right? And what I've learned doing all these years, like, I think we have one of the most active online communities there is. Like, I get people that come in like, wow, like the engagement and the connection here is, and I'll be honest with you,
I see it.
Not good enough. It's not good enough for me. These people say like, oh, this is awesome. Like, this is, well, it's like people are connected and you're involved, but I'm still like, there's not enough people joining the call. There's not enough people answering the question.
Yeah.
That is my own problem. Because here's the deal. I'm in 3 other memberships, and sometimes I forget about them for 2 or 3 months. I'm still paying because I look at it like I have them on retainer. I'm in Dave Jackson's group. It's about podcasting. It's a membership. And I'm not even actively doing my podcast right now. It's coming back. I still pay for it because it's still valuable. And when I need it, it's there. I look at it like I have them on retainer. And that's what somebody said to me. I asked that question, like, I feel like you're not on enough of the calls and you're not, he goes, and they gave me the same exact answer. And they love the community. So I did an email about this a couple of months ago where I polled everybody and I realized, Ozeal, this was a crazy thing. I think it's the live calls where everybody should be on, right? That's my thing. That's right. Where, well, you might get 10, 20% to join that call and you feel like I'm not serving. Well, we record the calls. So I get so many messages from people that go, watch the replay. Man, that was a game changer. That was worth the admission right there for the year. Okay. Well, they weren't on the live call. Some people are in Australia. They can't make the live call, right? Then you get other people that are active in the Facebook group. Then you get other people that come to the live events. Then you get other people that get such value from connecting with the community. They don't have to all be at the live event. We offer a discounted coaching rate for people inside of our membership. We have people that pay the membership dues just to have access to the coaching calls with me. There are 7 different reasons we found that people stay in the community, and they're all different. So when you see that, you realize we are adding a tremendous amount of value, but I'm only judging it from 1 or 2 pieces of metrics, which is maybe the live call, the active in the group. There are a whole bunch of reasons why people stay. So I'm like, oh, when I started comparing it to a local community, like I don't look at my mayor and say, you're not doing enough for me right now, right? I love the community and I'll get involved when I want. And all you need to do, if you do this process, you will consistently get more better people in because you're more niched down and talking about it. And the wrong ones that don't want to be there will leave. And that's totally healthy. Like body releases waste. So does this. If somebody's not a good fit, they will leave. But your job is to do the marketing for your community to bring better people into the community so better businesses grow inside of it. Just think of a local community. Think about a local community that went down the tubes. They lost the good people. Bad people came in. Businesses went away. Graffiti goes on the wall. Things get burnt out, whatever it is. And the community went down. So that was a big game changer for me to realize it doesn't have to be the be all end all for everyone. And people find value in way more ways than I realized.
What I love about, this membership approach to community, because, you and I are big believers in community, have been for quite some time, is just the essence of bringing people together and, expressing, sharing the support and accountability and the education, doing it together. But also, like, I know as a creator who my primary income is consulting, coaching. I know a lot of creators are watching or listening. Also, we like to coach and consult, and we get these one-offs, and we're having a great time just coaching, but we can't scale that, and that could be difficult. If you just go one-dimensional as a business owner, talk to us a litto bit about other benefits of starting a membership and how we can combat offshoot the consulting when it's a little bit on the light side. Talk to us about your philosophy, man.
Well, I talked to a guy yesterday that's going to be a guest in our group, and he has a membership that has 1,000 people that pay $1,000 a year. And he talked about how he got burnt out doing the service-based work. And he almost gave it all up. And he went to them and he said, listen, we're changing this to a membership model. This is the price. And everybody that was in it jumped over to the membership model, right? And what he realized is if you don't, how did he say it? If you don't go from the service to teaching, you will eventually burn out. And I was like, that's actually a great point. And when he went from service to teaching, his income exploded without any more of his time, and his time actually went down. He spends 2 hours a day in his community, and his income has, I don't even know how many X's. It was beyond 10X, just crazy growth. Because when you do it this way, if we add 100 new people to our $100 a month membership, it really doesn't change my time at all, except for intros or connection. And that's not all on me anyway. How much more work would I physically have to do to create that type of income in a consulting or a coaching way? I couldn't handle it. My schedule would fill up, and then I, as a consultant, would get burnt out because it's so much one-to-one. Yeah. As we talked about earlier, people don't always do the work. People don't always show up. That if you care about your clients, that takes a toll after a while. It's just the truth. Yeah. Like that's what would burn me out. It wasn't, I just wish everybody would do the work. and they're paying me and I feel guilty that they're not. And basically at one time I heard somebody kept paying because they wanted their wife to know that they were at least trying, but they weren't trying. The only way they were trying was paying me. I felt awful. I didn't enjoy it. This way, I show up on Monday or 11 or whatever time the call is. I give everything I can for an hour, hour and a half. And if you want to be there, you can be there. If not, watch the replay. If not, it's up to you. But I don't, that's my membership takes an hour a week of work time and then bonuses that I do to over deliver. It's time freedom. And we can, so I talked to a friend who has a $9 membership. Liz Wilcox has 4,000 people in it. And she said, Vince, the only thing I do now is market. That's all I do. So now you can go on podcasts all day long. You could talk. You get to just an incredibly scalable point where everything just is about the enhancement of it.
Man, I love that. You gotta be excited, Vincent, for many things that I want to like implement. Especially for 2024 with my community here in Pot Houston and all the things that I'm doing here locally, but expanding that. Let me ask you this, man, because obviously, you're all about the total life freedom. How do you manage your own, time when it comes to just kind of running and growing your community? I know you say you spend about an hour a week to get things ready for the event, but outside of that, like, what are you doing? Are you focusing on scaling the community? Talk to us a little bit about the day-to-day tasks that you do to make sure this membership is thriving.
I'm a brick by brick person, and the big gurus will not be excited by my approach because they want to scale and they want to impress you. That's not the way it works for most people. It works in a handful of situations that gets everybody excited, but we all know, talk to any successful person, it is a daily, consistent work that gets it there. Right. So we launched pretty quickly, over 100 people, a lot of market research. And my whole thing since then has been, my focus is 2 to 3 members a week to join. Okay. That's my growth strategy. And by the end of next year, that'll be 250, 270 people. Okay. But as it grows, I keep learning from them and we keep adjusting to it. If 50 people join today, it wouldn't require that much time, but I wouldn't know my community as well. Right. So that's why I don't want it to grow that fast. Like I can right now, Ozeal, go to 10 big connections in my network and say, hey, here's an affiliate to my membership. Can you promote this? And we can get a lot of people in there. But just like any other community, just like here in Lakewood Ranch or Houston, if you get an influx of new people that don't understand your culture and don't appreciate it, your culture will go away. Yeah. And I don't want that. So 2 a week for me, they acclimate to an already very generous and connected community and they blend into it. That's my approach to it. I'm in no rush. I'm in no rush to do it. So, but I want constant growth of some sort. So I do a couple hours prep for the call. I want our calls to be amazing. So I will prep things that we're doing. We'll do the 1 hour call. I will be involved in the Facebook group, when I see fit, it's on a daily basis. But really what I do is create content, which is our newsletter and social media and podcast interviews. And then I will connect, and I'm just a connector. So I do this, everything I teach in our course inside the group around the wealth of connection. I reach out to current clients on a daily basis, a handful, prospective clients, people that, have expressed interest or are on the lists. They could be acquaintances, friends, and influencers. And then I will 3 times a day give a thank you to somebody that's helped me or my family in some way. It's just a habit I wanted to establish. Then I'm thinking about who can I encourage? Who do I know that's struggling a little bit? And I'll do a couple of those. Then I will make free offers, meaning, hey, here's my newsletter. Here's my podcast. Here's something. Hey, you want to join a call and just check it out as a guest? Free offers. And then my paid offers, meaning, hey, Ozeal, we've talked for years. I think you would be a good fit here. Would you want to give this a shot? Would you? And it's an offer. It's not a sales pitch. We've already connected for a while. These people have already showed interest. And whenever I do that, the conversion rates are, through the roof because it's built out of relationships and it's not built out of a salesy LinkedIn pitch that you get as soon as you connect with somebody. Which is what everybody does.
Right. Yeah.
But
so you're not doing any like paid ads. I'm sorry. You're not doing any paid ads. You're just going direct. You're active and just kind of engaging with people. It's
relationship based. But if you've built relationships for 2 to 3 years with people and you've never sold them anything, but they see the success you're having and they know people in your community and they see what's going on and they have expressed interest in it, they're the perfect, and this is for everybody in the audience, they're the perfect people to make an offer to. And then maybe you give them a free trial. Try it out for a month. Cancel if you don't like it. There's nothing to lose. And then you come in, the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems with building community is it's just like a game. You don't know what it's like until you're in there.
Yeah.
Right? You can listen to an Astros game all you want. But once you get to the stadium and you go inside, you go, this is amazing. That's what a trial gives somebody. It gives them a look around. And then, I mean, honestly, since we've given only individually, I don't do it on our website. I only give trials to people that I'm connected with personally to try it out. So far, till this moment, not one person we've given a trial to has not continued on.
Wow.
Because they come in, they see it. Because they also come in and connect with other people, like-minded people. So it enhances their network and their growth as well. A lot of collaborations and business collaborations going on there as well.
So I was thinking about this the other day. I was journaling about community and, the common thread of what I've done in the past, over the past decade of organizing, as you know, live events. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking about how important community will be. Not only, it's always been part of the fabric of humanity, but how much more important it will be moving forward as a society, as just humanity, and how people are going to start gravitating towards community as AI starts growing. Because I do feel, and I was just thinking about this. So I'm just kind of spitballing here and sharing some ideas. I was like thinking, Vincent, so, AI is kind of taking over, not taking over, but it's emerging, and I get it. They're tools that we can use. Nothing against that. It's here. It's the future. Personal. Yes. But how community will have to, it'll be even more important. I feel like people will gravitate towards that connection, because the disconnect of humanity will be like, well, let me go ahead and play with these AI tools. You're getting more super intelligent, and I'm going to play here, and I'm going to take away the creativity in the community and the connection. And I do feel like humanity will rise, and we will see an uprise of people craving more humanity, connection, and community moving forward. What do you think about that, man?
We're already seeing it. We're already seeing it. Read the book, The Membership Economy. They talk about this was from 8 years ago, and they saw this coming, how even the online space, right? We all lamented it because it's like, oh, it's breaking up the local community. Well, the local communities have been broken up in a lot of ways. Remember the things that you used to have in local, you don't have anymore in a lot of ways. People are getting that in these micro niche, smaller online communities that then lead to in-person gatherings, meaning the conferences like you're doing are people that initially found each other online.
Yeah.
Because I don't connect with a lot of the people in my neighborhood because we don't have a whole lot in common. We just have, the only thing we have in common is that we moved to this neighborhood. But online, we're finding the people that really connect with us as a human, and then that leads to in-person community. So there's a need for it right now. And on top of it, where so much content, you don't even know if the person that you follow even creates the content anymore. Right. So you don't even trust that as much. So I'm even putting out there, like, everything you see from me is written by me. Everything. This is the only thing that I can have to express myself is my relationships and my content. And I am in no need for speed or multiplication of my content, just, to have somebody else write it for me or have a machine write it for me. Never. Like, I don't need the money for it. I don't need the fame for it. If you take away my creativity and my art, but I can 10x the amount of content I put out, it doesn't mean anything to me. So I feel a need for it.
I appreciate you sharing that. I was when I was surveying a few members from the Pod Houston community when we had that event a few weeks back. It was a great turnout, and I was asking them questions and asking them, hey, as far as you enjoyed the live event, what was the best thing that you got out of this event? And, we had a panel, great panelists. We had, food, we had the works, a great venue, and everybody, Vince. And I surveyed about maybe 10 to 15 people or so. Everybody said the people, like, we don't care about anything else. And we would be willing to pay for this. And I was like, interesting. And it was just because I was thinking maybe the information. I was thinking, okay, well, the panel, like, people would say, oh, the panel, the information. But everybody said the networking, the people. That was priceless.
Every conference I go to, no offense to any speakers, I don't go listen to the speakers. I can go listen to your podcast. You're going to talk about the same thing. I'm going to be in the hallway meeting people. That's what I'm going to be, and talking to people. And so when we were actually creating a conference, we never actually pulled it off because it was a collaboration that wasn't a good fit. But we were going to do an unconference. Basically, it's a conference, but it's not. It's going to be, table connection. It's going to be.
I love that.
Very few speakers, but that. You can. That's what people want. When we would do retreats, honestly, we would do mastermind retreats, and an hour and a half, people just talking. Like, no, we don't need to get back to anything else. Let's just keep doing, because they don't get to connect like that anymore, especially with like-minded people. So there's such a need for it.
As we land the plane, last question here, Vincent. If there's one creator factor that every content creator, entrepreneur should learn, master, at least have a deeper understanding of, what would that be?
I'm gonna give you two. Can I give you two? Can I cheat?
Yeah,
I can't ever go.
Let's go. Let's go with two, man. You gives the bonus.
One is be a great. Okay, it's three actually. Be a great listener. The listening abilities to leading to the content you create. So many people want to be heard, and they're just waiting for you to stop talking so they could start talking. Being a great listener, asking great and relevant and meaningful questions of somebody else will lead to amazing content, and storytelling. I think storytelling is, it's always been something that I found so valuable, almost too valuable, to where my keynotes have been based around the stories with lessons baked into them. And when I get off stage, nobody talks about the lessons. They talk about the stories. And I'm like, but my point was kind of missed, because I really wanted you to see this thing, but they were talking about the mafia story or this. I'm like, that's great, but I didn't get the point across. So I had to learn your strength can become a weakness. Storytelling can be so powerful that if you lean on it too much, you lose the message that you're trying. So I've learned that even in my newsletter, to use it, but use it like a poison, like a little bit, tiny bit, right? Somewhat that heals it, but it doesn't go too much. So when you can blend great storytelling with great lessons, people just eat that up.
That's one of the things that I loved about your podcast, the stories, brother. You were like, I think your episodes were all stories. I was like, oh my God, these are so good. And that's one thing that made it was a podcast on entrepreneurship and location, and financial freedom and entrepreneur, but those stories really stuck with me and resonate with me. And that really stuck out, man. Yeah.
It worked for the format because it was like a 5-minute show. So I can go into it.
Yeah.
Every episode was like, what's the story? What's the lesson? And what's the takeaway? But if that was 20 minutes, but I can give a 4-minute story with a 2-minute lesson and it hits home.
That's a great framework. What is it? What's the story? What's the lesson? And what's
the story? What's the lesson? And what's the takeaway?
That's it. That's the framework of a
5 minutes. It was 5 minutes. So yeah, it was, I stopped because I just kind of got burnt out. Unfortunately, it will come back in some form.
We're bringing it back. We're bringing it back, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Total Life Freedom, totallifefreedom.com. Go check it out. There is the membership there that you can check out. We'll make sure that we link up everything in the show notes. And then where else, Vincent, can we connect with you outside of that?
Yeah, if anybody, I give away the audio for the Wealth of Connection. It's on the top of that homepage. Anybody in your audience can get it.
Okay.
Up there. And also, I'd be happy if anybody wants. I love talking about this stuff. So, I don't know how to do it, but if there are people that wanted to connect in terms of even having a discovery conversation about, hey, they had a membership idea. I don't know if you want to just put my contact info in there. Be happy to connect because, I free up my time so I can have these conversations. And I learned so much from them. I learned so much. I try to help as much as I can, but I've learned a ton.
Brother, it's been a pleasure just reconnecting with you. As you know, man, I admire you. I have mad respect for you, which is the reason why I brought you on about 5 years ago. And then just seeing you just evolve into, the podcasts. And then now, crushing it with your membership. It truly is inspiring because I feel like you and I both are very passionate about bringing people, like-minded people together and building on community and building that wealth of connection. So my man, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. I really do appreciate that.
I appreciate you so much, what you do, your heart and the way you do it, and just you're such a great example for people in this space. And I'm just proud to watch you lead the podcast community of Houston in the way you're doing it and really figuring out your space. I'm just super proud and just grateful to call you a friend.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.